Reports suggested that U.S. talks with Iran were on the verge of collapsing, but this afternoon, Middle Eastern leaders reportedly stepped in, convincing the Trump administration to reverse its decision to kind of walk away from Friday's scheduled nuclear talks. Now, this sounds like kind of the same song, just different verse. Joining me now to discuss this and more is Senator Steve Daines of Montana, who serves on several Senate committees, including the Foreign Relations Committee. Senator Daines, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to join you, Tony.
All right, before we get started, how was hunting season?
It was great. My wife and I knocked down some really nice antelope. My sweetheart made a perfect 195-yard shot on hers. I did one at 495 yards with 6.5 PRCs. This is getting into the weeds a little bit, Tony, but had a great season. Had some great chase, some mule deer. My son knocked down a really nice buck as well in Montana. So anyway, we could spend the next couple hours talking that, Tony, but thanks for asking.
Well, impressive. Impressive. All right, so what do we make of the escalating tensions this week ahead of Friday's talk with Iran? I mean, we've seen this off and on before, even before going back to when the United States moved and bombed their nuclear facilities. There were discussions going on then, and they were off and on, off and on. I mean, is something new here, or is this more of the same?
Well, I'm concerned, Tony. Look, this leopard has the same spots it's always had, this current regime in Iran. Let's just step back and remember that they've labeled us as the big Satan. They label Israel as the little Satan. They are the primary state sponsor of terror in the world. They are singularly behind Hamas, behind Hezbollah, behind the Houthis. Tony, we need moral clarity at this moment around who the good guys are. You know, there's good guys, there's bad guys, and there's really, really, really bad guys. I put the current Iranian regime in the really, really bad guy category. And there's a lot of blood on their hands with our U.S. forces, what they have done to U.S. troops, as well as many innocents around the world. So I'm skeptical of the motives of this current regime, and think about this. It's hard to understand how many innocent Iranians have been killed who have been protesting the regime because they have a blackout right now on the internet. But the ranges I'm hearing are from 10,000 to up to 40,000 innocent Iranians have been slaughtered in the streets of Iran. This is not somebody, in my opinion, you negotiate anymore with. This is one where you put maximum force against them and hope the Iranian people can drive a regime change.
Well, Senator, the U.S. military said that an Iranian drone aggressively approached an aircraft carrier. Its intent was unknown, but, I mean, if you're trying to make peace and have conversations, that doesn't sound like the type of stuff you'd want to do.
Well, it's just consistent with who they are, Tony. There should be no surprise that the Iranians are taking aggressive action against U.S. forces, whether it's during peace talks or not. That's who they are, and that's why I'm skeptical. I know it's a tough situation to sort through, but there's one thing the Iranians understand, the regime, I should say, and I want to separate the Iranian people from the current regime, because as you know, across Iran, there's a lot of pro-Western, pro-U.S. sentiment. This is about this evil regime of the Ayatollah. But they understand one thing, and that's called B-2 bombers. Yeah. And that's why I think we need to resort to strength is the best approach here against this regime.
I want to play a clip of your former colleague, now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, about what he said would be the focus of these conversations. Play clip one, please.
As far as the topic of those discussions and what the agenda needs to be, look, I think in order for talks to actually lead to something meaningful, they will have to include certain things. And that includes the range of their ballistic missiles. That includes their sponsorship of terrorist organizations across the region. That includes the nuclear program, and that includes the treatment of their own people.
Anything else need to be on that list?
Well, that's a pretty long list. But I guess, Tony, I think we have to make a decision. Are we dealing with a good faith negotiator with the Iranians or not? In my opinion, we are not. And I think this is similar to the Hamas negotiations, is they will continue to want to negotiate to buy time. I'm just not optimistic, Tony, that they really want to come to the table and make some kind of an everlasting peace agreement to make sure that they are meeting all of our requirements, our demands. I just don't think it's going to happen. And if they do say yes, I wouldn't trust them anyway.
Right. I'm with you, Senator. I mean, we've seen this over and over again. In fact, yesterday, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff that Iran has repeatedly proven they cannot be trusted. And I'll have to say, when it comes to their neighborhood, I kind of trust Israel and their intel in what's happening in the neighborhood. They were right on Syria. They took out a lot of Syria's, when the Assad regime collapsed, they took out a lot of their military capabilities, which was good given what we see happening now in Syria. So I think we should kind of follow Israel's lead.
Well, remember, Israel is minutes away from ballistic missile attacks. We have an ocean that separates us from the Iranians. And that's why I do believe, as you do, Tony, that Israel's voice really matters in this situation. And it was the brilliance of the Israeli defense forces working with the United States that allowed us to set the Iranian nuclear program back many, many years. But that was a very methodical approach. Post-October 7th, with that horrible, deadly terror attack on Israel, at that time, the Israelis were surrounded with, the Houthis to the south, you've got Hamas there in Gaza to the north, you've got Hezbollah, and the Israelis systematically and sequentially virtually neutered each of those threats between Hamas, Hezbollah, and they're still working on the Houthis, and then allowed them an open window to go after the nuclear program there with the Iranians. So I think it's very important we are joined with Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israelis in looking at their security, because their security ties to our security, Tony. I really believe that Israel's interest there to maintain their security ties right to our security here in the homeland.
Senator, we just have about 30 seconds left. Given what you know in the Foreign Affairs Committee, looking at what's happening globally, how should Christians here in the United States be praying?
Well, you always pray for peace. And I think we also need to pray for, at this moment, specifically our leaders, to pray for President Trump, to pray for Marco Rubio, to pray for Steve Witkoff, for Jared Kushner, those that President Trump is sending in as envoys to negotiate. They truly need wisdom. If any man lacks wisdom, let him ask. Pray for wisdom for these leaders and for tact. They can tactfully and wisely work to the right conclusion here and then take the right action.
All right. Thank you, Senator.